Hello and welcome to Brief Tune. Today we take you on a nostalgic trip to one of the most influential cartoons of our generation, Hey Arnold. We'll talk about the full story from Arnold's beginnings in Hillwood to the secrets of his family's past and the unforgettable emotional scenes. Get ready for a deep, exciting, and heartfelt analysis from the first episode to the last movie. Let's start from the very beginning. Back in 1859, when this land was just fields. At that time, the British took over lands north of the river, while the Americans settled in the south. One day, a pig wandered from the British side into the American side, and one of the Americans shot it. This simple incident sparked major tensions between both sides. Those tensions later escalated into what became known as the Pig War, ending with the Americans' victory and their control over the entire land. After the war, Grandpa Phil was born in 1917 to humble parents who had very little. During that time, a flood hit the area, worsening the family's hardships.
Reminds me of the Great Flood of 1916. My daddy built himself an ark.
Phil's twin sister, Mitchie Shortman, was also born then, and the two often fought. There was a belief in the family that anyone who reached the age of 81 would die suddenly, just like Phil's parents did. One day, while the children played in the garden, the family dog escaped under the fence. The siblings looked for him, but when they found him, he had been hit by a car and died before they could save him. The grief turned into a fight between them that lasted 71 years. As a child, Grandpa Phil went to school and played like any normal kid. He loved playing Chinese checkers and often studied its strategies. A little girl named Gertie used to bully him at school and blamed him for things he didn't do, which is similar to what Helga does to his grandkid Arnold. During this time, his father was a great support, especially on the night they sat together waiting for Sally's comet to pass, an event that only occurs every 70 years. His father also trained him for weeks for an eating contest, which Phil won. His father's tears of joy were unforgettable. Phil also joined a boat race and was about to win until his rival, Rex Smith, sabotaged his boat. Despite the loss, it was a memorable event. His bond with his grandfather was also special. During harsh winters, Phil would work hard and he would ease those tough days by playing with him in the snow. Phil dreamed of becoming the president of the United States, but when the Great Depression hit, everyone lost their jobs. He had to quit school and work to support his family. He had a close friend named Jimmy Kafka. Later, Phil worked in the sewer system for a man named Bobby. After a pipe explosion, Bobby was arrested and Jimmy became the manager. Phil couldn't bear working under Jimmy, and the two had a long-lasting argument. As he grew older, Phil built a treehouse, and we'll talk about it later. He loved fishing despite his bad luck, and once he almost caught Big Caesar, a legendary fish that got away. He's been trying to catch it ever since. Years later, after mastering Chinese checkers, he entered a tournament against the top 4 players, including the best, Robbie Fischer. Phil defeated everyone except Fischer, and to this day, he still dreams of revenge. During World War II, Phil joined the army as a young soldier. He dreamed of marrying actress Hedy Lamarr. He started by peeling potatoes and washing dishes until his first assignment came, delivering potatoes to the front lines. The journey was cold and dangerous. He claimed he encountered and even defeated Hitler. Well, we all know how elderly people exaggerate. In truth, he was captured by regular soldiers, but tricked them and poisoned their food, ending up capturing them instead. Phil seems to have been just a typical worker, but his stories always had flair. Now, do you remember the little girl who bullied him? She grew up and became a young woman, and the two eventually fell in love and had their first date and dance at a music hall. That dance marked the beginning of their life as a couple. They got married and spent half of their honeymoon in the treehouse Phil had built. After the war and marriage, they settled in Phil's parents' house. Phil and Gertie decided to open their home to others. Mr. Hyunh moved in after losing hope of reuniting with his daughter. Others, like Ernie, Oscar, and Susie from various backgrounds, also joined, creating a diverse family under one roof. Phil also, and finally, bought the car he had always dreamed of. Let's talk a bit about Grandma Gertie. She often appears in theatrical outfits, hinting that she may have worked in show business. There are signs she might suffer from mild memory loss, or even early signs of Alzheimer's, but most of the time, it's played for laughs. Still, she remains sharp when it matters most.
I'm a grandma with a husband, a young grandson.
This heat is so crazy, it's got Grandma acting normal.
Her eccentric behavior could be due to childhood trauma, the Great Depression, or losing loved ones, and you might know, humor and mystery can be a coping mechanism for many people. And speaking of coping, Grandpa Phil lost his hair and tried to cope with it, but eventually embraced it. One of the saddest moments of the show happened in 1955 during the Vietnam War. Mr. Hyunh lived peacefully with his daughter in a village. As the war intensified, civilians fled. He handed his daughter to an American officer in hopes of a better life and never saw her again. That's why he came to America, to search for her. Phil's son Miles grew up to be an explorer and doctor who traveled on humanitarian missions. On one mission, he fell off a cliff and was rescued by Dr. Stella, who later became his wife. They embarked on adventures, including the search for the lost city. Eventually, they settled and married in San Lorenzo and were loved by the locals. But they had to move soon because during their honeymoon, they heard of a mysterious illness spreading in the village and set off to help. They one day built a home and discovered Stella was pregnant. During childbirth, a volcano erupted, which wasn't the best time, but, well, Stella gave birth amid the chaos. And this is how our protagonist Arnold was born. Realizing how hard life would be in the jungle, especially for a child, they returned to the city, where Arnold had a normal childhood and was cared for by everyone. He played with neighborhood kids and treasured the hat he had on his head, the one given to him by his parents. After Arnold's first birthday, word came from San Lorenzo about a new outbreak. His parents had to return and left Arnold with his grandparents. As they departed with eyes full of sorrow, the little boy whispered, "Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, Dad."
Bye, Mommy. Bye, Daddy.
Arnold remained with his grandparents, who had been his faithful companions since the very first step in his life. Despite his deep longing for his parents, his grandparents were like a real mother and father to him.
I'm scared I can't find my Mommy and Daddy.
Oh, now don't cry.
As he grew a little older, he went to preschool and met many friends, the dearest of whom was Gerald. Gerald was the son of Martin, a veteran who had fought in the American Vietnam War in 1972. Martin loved teaching his son how to ride a bike, but sadly, an accident prevented his son from ever riding again. Arnold also met Helga, a girl who suffered from neglect by her family. They gave all their love and attention to her older sister, to the point that on her first school day, they didn't even notice Helga was going to preschool on her own. One day, while walking in the rain, Helga encountered Arnold. He was kind to her and shared his umbrella to protect her from the rain. He smiled at her gently and said, "I like your hair ribbon." From that moment on, Helga began to admire Arnold. But his kindness toward her attracted the attention of the other children, who began mocking her for it. So Helga was forced to hide her feelings and started acting aggressively and violently, so that no one, and of course not even Arnold, would know about them. Thus, her silent love turned into opposite behavior, masking a heart full of emotion. And from here, the events of the cartoon Hey Arnold begin. As we follow Arnold on his school journey, with his friends and family, enjoying fun adventures in each episode, we will now talk about the key events in the story and continue this journey full of nostalgia and memories. Among them, when Arnold tried to fix Eugene's bike, but the fool's luck never fails. Also, helping his grandmother, he saved a turtle in the garden and together, they released it into the wild. Helga, behind all the teasing, kept her feelings hidden in a small notebook. Her love for Arnold, which she couldn't admit. When the notebook fell into Arnold's hands, her secrets were at risk of being revealed. Worse, they were read aloud. At that moment, we saw the real Helga, a girl who loves in silence and fears rejection. Do you remember Arnold's cap? The one he got from his parents? He lost that cap, which he considered a source of his strength and energy. He searched for it everywhere, but it was Helga who found it and secretly returned it to him. But that's not the only thing she did, because later Arnold meets a girl he likes and tries to talk to her in every way possible, but Helga doesn't let him. One of Arnold's most beautiful moments was when he met Pigeon Man, a mysterious man who lived in the neighborhood in isolation, taking care of pigeons in an abandoned building. The children were afraid of him and thought he was strange, but Arnold discovered that he wasn't just a lonely person. He had a touching story and a real reason for taking pride in his pigeons. He also represented those being marginalized in society. Let's talk about Helga again. Helga's jealousy of her perfect older sister who never made mistakes and received all the attention drove her to forge her sister's grades and make her look bad, just to gain a little attention from their parents. But when her sister suffered a mental breakdown, Helga was overwhelmed with guilt. In a rare moment of honesty between the two, she confessed what she had done. It became clear that behind the jealousy and anger was a deep longing for love and attention. Sally's comet falls once again, and Grandpa watches it once more, but this time with his grandson Arnold by his side. On Christmas Eve, Arnold discovers the emotional emotional story of Mr. Hyunh, who had lost his daughter during the war. Arnold decides to reunite them as a holiday gift and begins searching for her around the city. He reaches a government office, but is met with refusal unless a bribe is paid for the information. Here, Helga, being the caring, lover girl she is, steps in. That night, Mr. Hyunh opens his apartment door and finds his grown daughter standing there. They embrace with deep emotion after years of separation. During the school play of Romeo and Juliet, Helga uses the opportunity to steal her first kiss from Arnold during the acting scene. After years, Grandpa joins the boat race again, but this time alongside Arnold, aiming to defeat his old rival and finally win. We see a softer side of Harold when he finds a stray cat and takes care of it, but he refuses to give it back to its owner after becoming attached until Arnold convinces him to return it, even as Harold is trapped inside the house, surrounded by police. Arnold and Gerald finally manage to catch Big Caesar, the legendary fish that Grandpa had failed to catch his entire life. And after that, Arnold helps Gerald learn to ride a bike, because Gerald had failed to learn when he was younger. In the same way Grandpa raced again, he returned to the Chinese checkers competition, where he faced his old enemy, Robbie Fisher, and defeated him. With Arnold's help. Arnold and his friends work together to save the old tree in their neighborhood, the one that holds cherished memories for everyone, including Grandpa's honeymoon. They gather around the tree in protest, and thanks to their unity, they succeed in saving it. Later, the boarding house becomes old and worn down, and Grandpa decides to sell it. But the tenants share their stories and beautiful memories of the place, and in the end, he changes his mind. Do you remember the family curse we talked about? The time finally comes and Grandpa Phil believes he'll die at age 81. He falls into an existential crisis, overcome with sadness and depression, and begins preparing for death. But at the last moment, he discovers that he's a year younger, and that the curse was just a myth. Afterward, Grandpa decides to go back to school to complete his education and ends up in the same class as Arnold. Arnold feels embarrassed by his grandfather's odd behavior, but despite that, Grandpa succeeds and earns his diploma. After that, Arnold meets his strange cousin Arnie. He looks just like Arnold but speaks slowly, acts weirdly, and makes others uncomfortable with his awkward behavior. Arnold meets yet another person. Phil's twin sister returns and he discovers that the two had an old feud over something trivial. With sadness and cleverness, Arnold creates a successful plan to reconcile them after 71 years of estrangement. Later, Helga begins seeing a therapist where she starts to reveal her secrets, her past, and everything she's been hiding. Her inner conflict between her true emotions and her outer behavior comes to light. Dr. Bliss comes to understand Helga's case deeply, praises her intelligence and honesty, and advises her to start reconciling with her feelings and be more honest with herself. The adventures of the friends continue until a major event occurs. The news of the famous singer Dino Spumoni's death is announced. Arnold later discovers that Dino faked his death because he felt forgotten, and confronts him and tries to convince him that life isn't over yet. Arnold takes Dino to his secret funeral where he hears people speak about him with love and nostalgia. After seeing for himself how much people truly care, Dino decides to return to life publicly and perform a new song on stage. Grandpa's old friend, Jimmy Kafka, returns. The two are still rivals and continue to compete. They enter a contest to prove who is stronger, but Arnold steps in and successfully ends their dispute. Arnold goes with his friends to visit his cousin Arnie, and there, he discovers a strange town populated by bizarre versions of his friends. Helga, Hilda, Gerald, Gerard, Harold is skinny and shy, and Phoebe is popular and confident. Arnold starts to like Hilda, but as events unfold, he discovers it was all just a dream. In a funny adventure, Stinky, Harold, and Sid run from the police after thinking they blew up a police station. After a long chase, they realize it was all just a misunderstanding. Later, Grandpa's car gets stolen, and Arnold and Grandma go on a detective-style adventure. After a series of events, they manage to get it back. Now, after all these adventures with Grandpa and his friends, Arnold finds his father's journal. Grandpa starts reading it to him and tells the story of Arnold's parents. While reading, Arnold finds a hidden page with a map that might lead him to his parents. And so, the journey to find his parents begins. Years after all those childhood adventures, on a seemingly normal morning, Arnold goes to school. But this time is different. The teacher announces a charity project to help a distant village, San Lorenzo. The name hits Arnold hard. It's the same village where his parents disappeared many years ago. Excited, Arnold decides to join. He tries to get selected by submitting a simple video, but it fails. Crushed, he feels like he missed his last chance to find his parents. As usual, Helga steps in secretly and creates a touching video, showing how Arnold helped everyone over the years. The video shown receives great praise, and Arnold is chosen for the mission. He sets off with his friends on an adventure to San Lorenzo. There, they meet a man who pretends to be Eduardo, claiming he'll help them find Arnold's parents. But later, they discover he's someone else, out for a lost treasure called the Eye of the Sun. He tricks them and holds them captive. Arnold escapes and follows clues left by his parents in their journal. He learns they were looking for a cure for a disease. He then reaches a village full of small children who view him as their king, the lost city. But then La Sombra, the villain, arrives and steals the green eye and escapes. He fights Arnold, but ends up falling into a trap. The eye falls off a cliff and is lost. Finally, Arnold reaches his parents and finds them alive, but in a deep sleep due to the illness. With the eye lost, Arnold uses Helga's locket, which contains a picture of him. Strangely, it works and heals everyone, waking them from their sleep. In a deeply emotional moment, Arnold runs to his parents as they slowly open their eyes. He hugs them as they awaken at last. After years of absence, they are finally reunited. In the final scene, Arnold tells Helga, "I know you tried to tell me before, and now I want to hear it from you. You did everything to help me." Without any more words, he leans in and kisses her. A sincere moment at last where she confesses her love to him. Arnold wakes up happily, embraces his parents, then heads off to school as they wave him off on his first day of the new school year, marking the beginning of new adventures. Arnold grows up, and after years of complicated love and hidden feelings, his long journey with Helga ends in marriage. After their honeymoon, they move in with Helga's parents. Arnold starts working for her father, a tiring job moving boxes, but a necessary one. With time, they have children. But Helga runs away from responsibility, leaving Arnold alone to care for the kids. Arnold tries to fix things. He confronts Helga about her behavior and asks her to take responsibility, to move out of her parents' house and raise the children together. Touched by his words, Helga realizes her mistake, and in the end, love wins. In another scenario, Helga becomes president of the United States. But she completely neglects Arnold, obsessed with power, while Phoebe remains her loyal assistant. But everything turns upside down when Arnold is kidnapped by a mysterious terrorist organization. At that moment, Helga's feelings return, and she becomes a secret agent. She launches a daring mission to rescue him. After chases and fights, she discovers the kidnapper is none other than Lila, who took Arnold out of her old love for him. Lila is captured, and the soldiers arrive, led by Gerald, who now works in the government. In the end, true love is acknowledged and Helga reunites with Arnold. Once again, love triumphs. Now, let's talk about what happens to the characters next. As for Gerald, with his powerful voice and charisma, he might become a storyteller for children, or even a podcast host. Phoebe, a scientist, a professor, or maybe even an astronaut. Harold, a professional chef, or the proud owner of a restaurant. Grandpa Phil, his story ends with dignity. He may have passed away in the future, but his impact lives on in Arnold's heart, who dedicates part of his life to helping the elderly. After losing his parents as a child, Arnold is determined to always be present in his children's lives. Arnold's story wasn't just about a kind-hearted kid going on adventures. It was about love, friendship, family, and about facing hardships with hope and courage. Maybe Arnold has grown up now, and maybe we've grown up with him, but the nostalgia will always live in our hearts. The journey ends here, but memories never die. And that wraps up the legendary cartoon, Hey Arnold, a series we'll never forget. And with that, we've reached the end of the video. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, like and subscribe for more videos.